Are you ready to expand your life and reality? Join us for the next hour with Jamie Bates as she shares life-changing thoughts, techniques, and awarenesses to help you expand your reality.
Hello and welcome. I am Jamie Bates, consciousness facilitator and expander of realities. My mission with my radio show is to create greater awareness of what is possible and to expand you beyond the limitations of this reality. I am grateful that you're joining me today. And today I have a special show for you. Today I have a very special guest, Kula, joining us.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Kula. And Kula is going to tackle kind of a hard subject with me today. And that is, what do you do when someone you loved or trusted verbally attacks you, says mean things about you, is unkind to you? And I know that this is a very difficult situation for each and every one of us, especially when we're going through it. And I think each of us has been through it in some version of a story at some point in our lives. And today I'm going to share with you how to change the energy of it, not necessarily changing it completely, right? Because we may not able to actually change someone else's mind, but we can change the energy around it so you don't have to be the effect of it. And also, so those who engage with the person who is doing the kind of the verbal attack, who is talking bad or being mean, so they can really see the truth of the situation and not get tangled in the lies. So this is kind of I feel like this is a sensitive subject for many of us, because this is kind of one of those things that when something happens to you like this, it instills kind of such a sense of wrongness about who you are. When in all actuality, the people that are saying the things about you may not be telling the truth in any way, shape, or form. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I work with people who have situations that happened 20, 30 years ago, and they're still kind of carrying that baggage around with them, and still really identifying with this place where they feel like because this happened to them, they must be bad or wrong. And I really wanted to tackle it. I wanted to talk about a personal instance in my life that was very difficult for me to kind of overcome and get through. And this was right around this time that I was just really learning consciousness tools. So I hadn't really even developed my own way yet, and I didn't really know how to get myself out of it. And it was kind of a traumatic experience. And I think if you've been through an experience like this, where someone that you trusted, someone that you allowed into your life and you really kind of gave space for, does something like that to you, it's hard to overcome. So today I want to tackle that, and I want us to know that we can release the energy around it, right? We can actually really change this so we don't have to be the effect of it for the rest of our life. So you're not carrying that around with you like a backpack of shame, because I feel like that's what we do. You know, we feel so shameful about the situation. We don't want to talk about it because we don't want people to feel like we did something wrong. Like, I think a lot of us go to that space where it's like, oh, well, why would someone just randomly make up something and attack us with it? And the reality is it doesn't really make much sense why people would choose things like that. But we can actually really remove it in a way, or release it from our fields in a way where we no longer have to be the effect of it. And I think that that's the most important part. It's not about trying to justify it or make it make sense, or point the finger at who's right or wrong or good or bad in the situation. It's about really just allowing yourself to release it and move forward with your life, so you no longer have to become the effect of it. So that's my goal today, is really get into those places and spaces where you have had someone you loved or trusted and come into your life and do something where they really made you feel bad and wrong and told other people that you were bad and wrong, and there was no recourse that you had for any of it. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started with that, and let's start by putting our barriers down, our barriers down, our barriers down, our barriers down. And we're going to expand out. And if you've never expanded out before, all you're going to do is make your being bigger, and you're going to go beyond your body. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make yourself as big as, let's go as big as the state that you're in. You're going to go all the way out and all the way down and all the way up. Take a nice deep breath, and we're just expanding our being so we can get into this expanded place of who we be, so we can release these contractions, these energetic contractions that are keeping us looping in energies that don't work. And go ahead and make yourself as big as the country that you're in, all the way out and all the way down and all the way up. And go ahead and make yourself as big as the planet that we're on, becoming one with everyone and everything, bigger, faster, bigger, faster, bigger, faster, bigger, faster. In the universe. In the multiverse, multiple universes. And times that by a million, times that by a million, times that by a million, times that by a million. And all the way out to the space of who you be as the infinite being that you be. Awesome. So now what we're going to be doing today is really changing the way that we are processing the energy around the situation. Okay, because that's key, is really changing the way that you are identifying within the situation and the way that you're looping in kind of the projection of energy that they're throwing at you, you know, the places where they're making you wrong, saying the things that aren't true about you, the things that they're projecting at you, and how it's like, you know, you get caught in kind of that defense mode. And me and Kula were talking about the defense mode just before this call here today, and really looking at how, you know, very easy. I mean, of course, when someone attacks you, right, the first thing you want to do is you want to start defending yourself. You want to call out everything that they are doing and saying that isn't true. And I don't want to say that that's not necessary, because it definitely there is a certain place where kind of stating the facts is required. But there's also other places where, in the grand scheme of it, it's kind of like, you know, I have people that will tell me, you know, there was literally no reason, like some complete stranger or someone that they knew or had known for a long time just randomly started blurting out these weird experiences or these things that weren't true. And it's like that right there. I just want to get to the energy of that right there. Everything, all of that is, can we just choose to remove all of that from all of our universes? And can we just choose that now?
Choose that now.
Yes, thank you, Kula. Vaporize, 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 vaporize. And all we're doing here is we're just releasing the energy. So Kula, just real quick for a moment here. Me and Kula have been working together for quite some time, and
Yeah.
you were talking about kind of the steps that you have been taking in this particular situation, and it makes me so proud that you know, it's you're really allowing yourself to really stay out of the trauma drama, as hard as it is, right? Because it's really
hard. Definitely.
It's hard when someone personally attacks you. Yeah. Right. And when someone is saying like bold-faced lies about you that aren't even true, I think I just want to say you're doing so great at not getting caught up in it. So I just wanted to say that. Is there anything that you want to say about that?
No, I you know, we always talk about when you're faced with something like that. I mean, the most important thing to do is, you know, for lack of a better term, not fight it, but just receive it, you know, and just take it in and, you know, pull it through you. And because I think the more that you put up blocks against it, the bigger it becomes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's, these are the tools, obviously that I've been working with you for a lot of years. These are the tools that we use. And it's good because it's probably like the first time that instead of, kind of, they're making me wrong. I'm not making anybody wrong. I'm, I'm not. I'm just receiving it, and I'm processing it, and I'm moving on from there. And it's taken a lot of the pain out of it as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that, because
Well,
that is, it's the pain, it's the fight against it that
absolutely.
really creates the angst inside of us, right?
The hurt. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I love that, the first thing that you're doing is just acknowledging, what they're saying, which is really the first thing I teach people, acknowledge it, acknowledge what they're saying. Don't resist it. Don't defend yourself. Don't fight against it. Just acknowledge what they're saying. Um, don't make yourself small or wrong either, because that's a big one, right? People will go into,
Oh, absolutely.
oh, well, what did I do? And oh my gosh, what if I did do that? And oh my gosh, I'm a bad person, even though they know that what the person is saying isn't true about them,
True.
right? Because
You're 100% right.
yeah, it's hard. It's like, and one of the things that a lot of people in consciousness work will often say is that what somebody is accusing you of is exactly who they're being.
True. That's a very true statement.
Yes. And so what happens when we acknowledge it, and just like you said, it like when you acknowledge it and then you just receive it into your body, it gives it a space to kind of flow through you. And it kind of dissipates the energy in a way where, when because most people, when you say something bad about someone, or they expect you to fight against them, right? And again, that fight against
Right.
creates that like internal struggle, but it also creates that struggle within whatever they're saying, and it creates that thing as being bigger and more out of control. It's like the snowman effect, right? It just
Absolutely.
just will start gaining momentum, and it gets bigger and it gets wider. But when you don't resist it, and when you just stand in allowance of it, and you just kind of watch what's going on, and you
It takes the
receive it in your
charge off.
body, totally takes the charge off, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not, it is something that it just didn't, and you can attest to this as well, that I didn't just wake up one day and say, oh, well, I can do this. It takes, I actively have been obviously working on this for the last couple of years. And it's kind of funny because, as I talked about previous, I've worked with you for a lot of years, and now here it's come to fruition, and, kind of now it really matters. Now there's a lot on the line, and instead of being kind of wrapped up in it and kind of like tearing myself up and maybe I am a bad person and maybe this person is right and blah, blah, blah. Instead of doing all that, you're just taking it in, you're receiving it, you're taking the charge off of it, and it's a lot more peaceful place because you also are seeing it for what it really truly is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. I seriously couldn't have said it better. It's so amazing to have someone on that's going through it right now to really share their experience, right? Because it's
Right.
like you internalize it so deeply. When someone says something terrible about you, again, it's like, people go into that space where it's like they just have this internal battle. And also, I want to acknowledge too, you're not even going into that space where you're going, where you're like, where you're, what is the word I'm looking for, where you're like hurt with it, like, oh my God, and it's
Right.
like making you sad, and it's like breaking your heart. And not that
Exactly.
someone attacking you is a fun experience in any way, shape, or form, but you're not internalizing it as like you were already able to see this person for who the person was before
Correct.
this actually happened.
Correct.
Which
Yeah.
was huge, because now you're not internalizing it and trying to, you're not dealing with the devastation of being hurt by someone who you trusted, right? You already realized before that, like, yeah, I don't know if I can trust this person anymore. They don't really have my back, and they're not really, they're not really in it to win it with me anymore, even though
Correct. Correct.
you had trusted this person in the past, we got to a point where you could see the person for who they truly were. And it's such a big experience when you're dealing with someone who is doing something terrible to you. I know often the first place people go is like, how could they do this to me? I trusted them, right? And
Exactly.
trust is a slippery slope, and that's something that I talk about often. Trust is kind of that energy where, uh, gosh, I wonder if I can pull it up. Trust is that energy where it's like, when you trust someone, the definition of trust is when you blindly basically give someone power over you,
Correct.
right?
I
More
mean,
space, more space, more space, more space. Go ahead.
no, we always talk about, you always talk about, the guy down the street that's like the serial murderer, and everybody said, but he was so nice, because you kind of give away, remember,
Yeah.
and you kind of give away your power
Yeah.
to somebody else, and you're not really looking at it. And so part of it is actually, looking and looking at the situation for what it truly is, looking at people for who they truly are, and then obviously, okay, then processing the situation. Obviously, if somebody's attacking you or attacking you verbally or whatever, looking at it and saying, okay, well, you saw what this person was capable of.
Absolutely.
Now you shouldn't be surprised. Now you're just going to receive it in, and that's how you're going to handle it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, let's just receive that for a moment. And everything, all of that is right there. All of that, 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 all of that. Can we just choose to remove all of that from all of the universes? And can we just choose that now?
Choose that now.
Vaporize, 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 vaporize. And I think that's such a great, tool to really be able to acknowledge people for who they are. And, as you get into consciousness work, the more and more and more you're able to really look at people for who they are and not for who that you've decided that they are. We do that so often, right? We meet someone and we're like, oh my gosh, they're so perfect. They're so amazing. They're such a great friend. And we make all
Exactly.
of these decisions about them without even really knowing who they really truly are, right? Without using our
Absolutely.
awareness. And I actually wanted to share a story today. So I had an instance, and I used to own a healing center. If you don't know that, if you've been listening to me, you probably already know that, but I used to own a healing center. And at the time that I opened up my healing center, I was a single mom. I had gone through my divorce. I opened up my healing center. I actually partnered with somebody for about a year, and then I kind of branched out and went on my own. And I had a whole center, and I kind of continually upgraded my center as I moved to 3 different locations. And the last location I was in, and again, like I was a single mom at the time. I had 3 littles, and when I actually opened up my last healing center was shortly after that, I actually started dating my now current husband. But before that, I had been a single mom, and even when my now husband started dating, the center was my responsibility. It was, I paid all the bills. I went from At one point I had a 2-room healing center, which I had rented out one of the rooms, and I had a small classroom. And I really was starting to kind of collect, I will say, a lot of healers around me that wanted to rent space, wanted to use the room, blah, 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 blah. So at one point I had been really asking for something bigger to show up because I felt like my healing center wanted to grow. And so I moved into a bigger location, and it definitely came with a much larger price tag. It was 4 rooms, 5 rooms, and it had a big, huge, like a conference room with it to be able to hold classes and events for local people, blah, 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 blah. So at that time, I went through lots of different structures in which I was running space. And anyways, it's kind of insignificant, but I guess what I wanted to look at here was this healing center was my responsibility, right? And I was a single mom, and I did pay a lot in rent. Plus I had I had a secretary who depended on me, who worked for me, who I paid hourly. And a majority of the money that I made on the Healing Center just came from the personal work that I was doing. I did have people come in and out. And one of the things that I did in that Healing Center was when I would meet a healer or a psychic.
Okay.
So one of the things that I often do with that was I would make decisions that I would meet a psychic, or I would meet someone and I would decide that they were an amazing healer, an amazing person, without really using my awareness. And I would say at that time I didn't really know how to use my awareness. Anyways, so I started really kind of opening my business up and giving permission for pretty much anybody to come in, use my facility. I really wasn't making really very insignificant amounts of money from people. I will say that, probably not even to really cover a fourth of the rent that I actually was paying. I wasn't a very smart business owner, I will say that. But, for me, it was like I was really tangled in a lot of those concepts where I just wanted to help people. I just wanted to help people. That was kind of my main goal, right? I wanted other people to have success. I had found really great success in being a healer, doing massage. I had lots of different services that I offered, and I was really, really busy. So I had different healers in there, in and out. I had some different massage therapists working for me here and there. And anyways, at one point I had I'm going to say there was a psychic that was kind of a well-known psychic in the area. And I met her and I just decided she was just amazing and great. And I welcomed her into my business. I gave her a key. She wasn't paying me monthly, right? She wasn't actually paying me rent. She was coming and going. She was kind of organizing events, doing different things like that. And at one point, she was dealing with one of the local churches, and she had decided to do a raffle. And this was shortly before what had happened. She had done a raffle where she was looking for donations, and she had came in and asked me, and I had this thing where I had a membership program at the time where people could buy a membership program with me, and they could come in twice a month and get massages from me for free, and then they could buy additional services for a discount, blah, 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 blah. So I actually donated a year membership with me. So that was essentially giving away, 2 services a month with me, and for somebody for a whole year. So
Wow.
basically her best friend, quote unquote, won the membership package. And her best friend had really lots of issues going on in her upper back area, like lots of problems. And I started working, and, so she would come and see me twice a month. And I want to say we were about 5 months in. And so it'd been some months, and she had been coming in, and I would say I really gave this woman a lot of space in my business. I really enjoyed who this woman was. I really kind of trusted her a lot. And I was working on her friend one day, and this was like I said, this was like 5 months in. It was like probably my 10th massage I had given her, and she was really making amazing progress with her upper back. She was able to do things she hadn't been able to do in a long time. She had range of motion in her neck again. Like, she had literally no range of motion. She had range of motion in her neck again, and she was just, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. And I was giving her a massage, and I don't even remember exactly what was said, but she said this really snappy, kind of mean remark to me. And I was kind of like, whoa, what in the world was that about? And she started talking to me about how this psychic in particular could easily outcreate me. And I was like, I'm coming from this space of like, whoa, wait a second. Like, I don't even know what that means. Cause like I'm over here like giving, like, hey, come in my business, do whatever you want. Like, do everything for free, And I'm like, why would, I'm not trying to be in competition with this woman. Like, what is that? And so, she kind of left afterwards, and she was kind of rude. And I was like, well, that was weird. And so then the very next day, my secretary actually came in, and she was telling me how she had seen on Facebook that this psychic was basically bashing my name and was like telling people not to come see me anymore. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? And I remember feeling like, what did I do? Like I went right to that space of like, what did I do? And all of a sudden people are calling and telling me that, she's saying that I'm greedy and that like don't go see her, she's just money hungry, and like all of these terrible things about me. And I'm like, and I instantly went to that space where I went to like, what did I do wrong? And
Right.
it was like, at that time, I didn't realize that what she was actually doing was accusing me of exactly what she was doing. And, here I am like holding space for her and holding space for her best friend, and like really literally like putting, myself on the line, which I had been doing, in this healing center for quite some years now. And these people are like telling the world that I'm greedy. And it was like, it was kind of this space where I instantly want to go to defending myself. And I wanted to tell everyone my story about how, she wasn't even paying me rent, and how I was opening up my business to her, and how she was in there all the time, and how she was organizing events there and she wasn't even paying me, and she was doing all of these things and she wasn't even giving me a dime, and then she was going to call me greedy.
Yep.
And it was like all of this, like, I mean, just all of this like upset was just starting to plague me. And I I went through a period where it was like I didn't even want to get up and go to work because my business took a really big hit, because I had welcomed her into my business, and because everyone at that point knew her, and she was teaching classes like literally 2 or 3 times a week at my business, and I was promoting her continuously. And it was amazing to me how many people, even though I had helped them, and I mean, I was one of those people that, I would bend over backwards. I would give you a huge discount if, if you needed help and you couldn't afford it. And then for people to side with her, it felt very deafening to me. And it felt very, 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 just extremely hurtful. And it was kind of one of those times where I remember thinking like, why am I putting myself through this? Like, at what point is this going to continue to happen to me? Where, because it'd kind of been a theme for me. It'd kind of been a theme where healers would come in and then they wouldn't be successful or whatever, and then they would go and blame me, instead of realizing that they didn't actually put any energy or time or space into actually doing it. And when that happened, I really decided that I was going to have to start being aware of people. I was going to have to start really allowing myself to know who people were before I allowed them in my life. And really, that was when I decided to kind of give up that word trust, right? To stop
Right.
kind of blindly trusting people. And really, I would say that was one of the pivotal moments when I decided that I really had to start being aware of what I was doing and what I was creating, and everything that doesn't allow each and every one of us to have that awareness, everything, all of that is. And all of that, 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 can we just choose to remove all of that from all of the universes? And can we just choose that now?
Choose that now.
Vaporize, 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 vaporize. More space, more space, more space, more space, more space, more space, more space. And what's interesting to me about that, and this is one of the things that I think is so important for all of us to get, is when someone does something like that to you, where they kind of like really totally throw you under the bus and make you wrong, they generally have an agenda for that. There's usually some kind of secret agenda that they have, which was
Absolutely.
interesting. And in my case, the next week she actually opened up her own healing center. And so it
Yeah.
was kind of like, oh, Jamie's bad and wrong. She's this, she's that. And then, a week later, she's like, oh, come to my healing center. It's all ready and we're opening next weekend. Look at this. And then it was like, oh, it still didn't take off the charge for me initially, like the hurt and the pain. Cause I felt like, and I think we can all identify, like I felt like I really trusted this woman and I felt like she was my friend. And the fact that like I had been a giver, and then the one thing that I felt would probably be the most deafening that she could do to me was to make me out to be like a greedy healer, was probably the most damaging. But what was interesting about that is she ended up fizzling out. People ended up seeing her for who she was, and she's still actually local around here. And occasionally, still to this day, it's been probably, probably about 8 years. Still to this day, occasionally I will run into somebody and they will mention her to me, and I think that's so strange and random, and they'll tell me something
Right.
that, happened or went on or something, and I'm like, okay, it's just all information, right? So I don't make any of it significant, but it's interesting how so what I got to essentially was to a place where I had really made a decision, and that's a big part of making sure that this doesn't happen to you. I feel like unawareness is a big part of why this happens to us, is when we choose to have people in our life that we're unaware of what they're capable of creating, right? And when you get to a certain space where you allow yourself to really be aware of everyone and everything that's around you, when you're not in resistance of who people are, and that's a big one, right? Because we like to loop in and making ourselves wrong instead of seeing who people are. And we're dealing with this right now in my relationship course that we're going through, is, when you start dating someone, right? And you want to
Exactly.
you want to decide that they're the most amazing things in the whole world, and that, that they have all of this potential, but they're not actually showing up as that person. And your decisions get wrapped up in it, and you start trying to make them show up as that person, when in all actuality, that's not the person that they're showing up as they want to be.
It's all about awareness.
It totally is 100% about allowing yourself to stay in your awareness all the time with every situation. And when someone comes into your life, and no matter what, if you trusted them and you love them and they do something awful, let's kind of run through the steps real quick of what we're going to do when that happens to you. So first, you're going to acknowledge the lies, right? You're just going to acknowledge them. You're not going to make them wrong. Right? Okay, so they're saying this, and this, okay? You're not going to make yourself small, and you're not going to make yourself wrong.
Right.
You're just going to see it as for what it is. That's their point of view. It does not have to be a character trait of who you are.
Yep.
And make sure you take nice deep breaths, and that you're not resisting or defending against the information. Remembering, if you resist what they're saying or you try to defend yourself against them, you're only upholding that energy stronger. That right there, and everything, all of that is, and all of that. Can we just choose to remove all of that from all of the universes? And can we just choose that now?
Choose that now.
Vaporize. And then you're going to pull and receive. So when you pull, you're going to pull pure positive life force energy, and you're going to pull that from behind them, through them. So whoever this person is, you're going to pull from behind them, just pure positive life force energy through them, through the space in between. You're going to receive it into your body and being. So all of those hateful, mean things that you're saying about you, you're just going to pull. So you're pulling pure positive life force energy from behind them, through the space in between. You're going to receive it into your body and being, and you're just going to let it go all the way out the other side. So you're not keeping any of that information. You're just pulling and receiving it. And as you're pulling and receiving it, it's like just acknowledging the energy of it. So these are all of the things that they are saying. None of it's right or wrong or good or bad. It's just information. I'm just going to pull and receive. And I think that's such an important part of it, is like, is like not getting caught up in the but it's not right, and it's, you know, because the thing is you want to change the energy around it, and resisting
Absolutely.
it or defending it just makes it stick. So you have to get
Exactly.
that. You can't be in
That's
resistance
the
of
key.
it. Huh?
I said that is the key right there.
It totally
That is
is.
the key.
And I get it, because we so want to go to like but right?
Exactly. Right.
They're making me so wrong, and it's so not fair,
Wrong.
and it's so sad, and it's so this, and it's so that, and I get it.
It's not true.
Yeah. But it's
But you
like,
just got to receive it.
you do. Because it's the key to changing the energy around it so you can have space to move forward.
Correct. Yep.
Breathe, 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 breathe. And then the other thing that you can do is you can send back gratitude to them. As hard as that may be, you can
And it is hard.
definitely.
Put it.
But when you send back gratitude, this is what I kind of like to do. I like to send back gratitude. Like, so what we're going to do is we're still pulling and receiving into our body, okay? And then we're going to send back this gratitude. We're going to send gratitude like from our arm area, like our armpit area. We're going to send back energy of gratitude. Now, what I like to do is I like to fill them with energy of like, thank you for being so kind to me. Right? Thank you for the space that you were in my life. Thank you for everything you've provided me with. Thank you for just being space in my life. So what we want to do is we want to fill them with that gratitude energy for the lessons that they're teaching you. I like to stay in that positive mode of like, thank you for being so kind. Like, if you can fill them
Right.
with that being kind energy, right? So then when they think about you, which they probably are, they're thinking that they
Right.
have to be kind to you. There we go. And we're going to fill them all the way in, all the way up with that energy of gratitude. Then we're going to pull that gratitude back, and we're going to receive that gratitude back into our body. So that gratitude's going all the way through them and out the other side and then back to you. So you're creating this like circle of gratitude.
Yep.
Pulling and receiving and pulling and receiving and pulling and receiving. And then as best as you can, you're just going to completely get out of the point of view. You're going to drop it. Just kind of really stay in allowance. I would pull from them as much as you possibly can every single day, because what you want to do is when someone's saying something bad about you, when someone is verbally attacking you, they expect that resistance. Okay, so if you pull on them and you keep pulling on them, eventually what they're going to do is they're going to fall on their face, because there's going to be no resistance against it, right? It's like,
Right.
there's like, if there's nothing to stop the flow of information, if there's nothing that allows the information to come back to them, eventually they're just going to run out, right? They're just going to completely, eventually that gratitude's going to take over. And they're literally going to have their stories. They're not going to be able to remember their stories. They're not going to be able to remember the connection points of, exactly what they said about you, because again, it's lies that they're telling about you, right? So the
You're
thing
right.
is like, if you pull on those lies enough, the bottom falls right out of that, because all of a sudden when they think about you, they can't make the reference points to those lies any longer. And then
Very
they
true.
end up saying things that aren't true. Again, like they end up like when they talk to other people about the situation, they're not keeping their story consistent. They're not able to stay with the same thing. Pulling and receiving, pulling and receiving, and pulling and receiving. And so what you want to really acknowledge here is that you are basically creating a new space. And again, you're not holding on to that upset any longer. And that space of not upholding that upset actually really gives you the space to be ease. And I don't care how long it's even been since you've had a situation, if you're going through a situation currently where this has happened to you, or if it was, 30 years ago when you were in high school, if you're still thinking about the situation, if you're still cycling in a place where you feel like every time you know, maybe look at yourself in the mirror, you're hearing someone that said, something terrible about you that recycles in your head. I once had a girl in high school. I had fake nails, and we were at a football game one day, and I had given her a hug, and she like ran off crying, and she went and told everyone I like scratched her with my fake nails, which there was never even a scratch, but it hurt my feelings for a really long time, like, and like everyone's like, why would you do that? And I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, I didn't even know what was even going on initially, right? And it was
Right.
kind of like that moment where people really made me wrong. And I remember there was many years where whenever I would think about high school, I would think about that moment in time when someone
Yep.
made me really, really wrong, and all of the things that the people said about me, even though it was something that was kind of stupid, right? But it still kind of affected me. And it made me kind of tainted, I would say, my whole high school experience, because for years people still brought it up, and I'm like, why is this happening to me, right? Because obviously then I didn't have tools to be able to change it. And so when I changed the energy around it, it was interesting because the whole way I viewed high school changed for me.
Definitely.
And all of that isn't everything that doesn't allow you to have that experience for yourself. All of that, 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 all of that. Can we just choose to remove all of that from all of the universes? And can we just choose that now?
Choose that now.
And vaporize, 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 vaporize. And let's just let that vortex all the way out, all the way out, all the way out, all the way out. So Kula, would you care to share maybe some things that some personal experiences, you don't have to like go into detail, but things that have kind of maybe changed the way that you view your past by kind of using these tools?
Well, I think that, you just had a conversation about being in high school and how, here I am, I'm, a grown middle-aged woman and, using these tools. But it is one of those things that what's so great about doing consciousness work and what's so great about, you can go back and put in, if you have, like you said, times in your life, and you can put that person or that situation or whatever in front of you, and you're pulling and receiving, and you stop taking the charge, and it, obviously, you and I've been I've been working with you for a lot of years, but that's probably one of the best techniques, because you start going and start looking back at your life, and when you take a situation, and you might not even realize it is, because as we start doing it, the situations become less and less and less, right?
Absolutely.
Because just like you talked about in high school, that issue that you had in high school, you know what? When somebody might look at it, they might say, well, you just scratched somebody, but it was something that caused you hurt. And you got to go back and you got to change how you looked at how energetically you looked at that situation. And then you start pulling that away. And when things do come up, when you take that tool and you start pulling from situations or from people that, whether you have a mother-in-law that's done you wrong. By the way, I don't have one of those, but I'm just saying, let's say you have a mother-in-law that's done you wrong, or you've got the neighbor down the street, or like you said, a high school person. You can take those tools and pull and receive and take the charge out of it. And then when you start going back and looking at it, it's just ease.
It doesn't even feel the same, does it?
No, it doesn't. And how awesome is that you can take an incredibly painful situation, take the charge off of it, pull and receive it through, and now you're looking at it for what what it really truly is, which probably isn't a whole lot of anything, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I have to
Absolutely.
tell you, it's great. So these tools, now here I am, I'm at a point where it's really important that I'm using it. It's really important that I'm being aware. It's important that I take the charge of it off of it. I take the charge off of it, sorry. And that I'm not blocking it. I'm just receiving it. And you know what? I'm kind of going through a very difficult time with a lot of ease. And
You
how
are.
awesome is that?
Yeah, it's super
How awesome
awesome.
is that? Yep. So
You're going
great. That'd be
through a
great.
period in your life where most people take years and years and years to heal from. And you're blowing right through it. And I know it's not been the most easy thing, but you
Nope.
have such an energy of peace and ease around you that it's not sticking you. It's not creating this kind of that, like, upset where you're spending all day, crying and being, broken by it. You're
Right.
you're empowering yourself to move through it with ease. And I also would
And
like
that,
to say, yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just saying that's it right there, Jamie. If you can get through a very difficult, horrible, life-changing situation with ease without it destroying you, using these tools, I mean, how incredible is that?
It's super
It really is.
incredible. You're doing a
Yeah,
great
it
job.
really is. Thank you.
And
And I appreciate it.
yeah, and even though someone's coming after you and attacking you and you're still holding your head up high, and I know how hard that can be, and you're doing great. And
Thank you.
it's awesome to watch you and to be present and see how great you're dealing with it. More space, more space. So any of us that are in situations that really feel deafening, that really feel like I'm never going to get through it, I want to just pull those energies all the way up, and let's just allow that to kind of shift and change, and let's just clear all of that. Everything, all of that is right there. Can we just choose to remove all of that from all of the universes, and can we just choose that now?
Choose that now.
Vaporize, 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 vaporize. And everywhere it feels like it's never going to be ease, that it's never going to be easy, that you're never going to get through it. Everything, all of that is right there. And all of that, 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 all of that. Can we just choose to remove all of that from all of the universes? And can we just choose that now?
I choose that now.
Vaporize, 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 vaporize. And that also brings up kind of an important part, I think, that in a situation like this, when you're in the midst of it, and someone is kind of bad mouthing you, and I think it's very important to keep in your awareness that you don't want to make yourself small, because when you make yourself smaller, you go, oh, I'm never going to get through this, or this is never going to change, and people aren't going to believe me, or people are going to believe them, right? And they're going to think I'm a terrible person. You don't want to solidify those energies, okay? Because that's the
Right.
energy that you're getting projected at you. So what you want to continually go to is that space where you're projecting out, like, how can this turn out even better and easier than I ever imagined possible, right? What else is
Exactly.
possible here that I never considered? How can this turn out to be ease? Without having a point of view about what that has to look like, right? You don't want to solidify the energies that you don't want to show up. And I know that this can be really hard, because I know that when you're in an awful situation where someone, especially someone that you loved or cared for, is really kind of beating you down and saying bad things about you, I know that it's hard to go to, like, especially when you hear maybe they're saying things to your family, or they're saying things to your friends, or maybe they're bashing you on social media, right? I know that it's hard to kind of change the energy on that and think, stay out of the point of view about it. But that, again, that's another thing that is important, right? You want to pull and receive, you want to acknowledge, you want to try to stay out of it as much as you can, and you want to start asking questions so it can turn out better, right? You don't want to solidify the energies that you don't want. You don't want to tell yourself, oh, everyone's going to think I'm terrible and awful. No, that's not true. Just because one person is saying something bad and terrible about you does not mean that the whole world has to identify with that.
Correct. Yep.
And everything, all of that is right there. Can we just choose to remove all of that from all of the universes? And can we just choose that now?
Choose that now.
Vaporize, 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 vaporize. And anywhere you're feeling any shame about the situation, yeah, everything, all of that is right there. And anywhere you're tangled in shame, everything, all of that is. Can we just choose to remove all of that from all of the universes? And can we just choose that now?
Choose that now.
Vaporize, 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 vaporize. And I would like to say as well, especially if you're dealing with someone that you trusted or you loved, one of the things I think is important as well is to release your commitments with the person, which is kind of a long process, releasing commitments to other people. But, and Kula said it perfectly, when you start using these tools and you start doing this and you start clearing your energy space and consciousness from things like this stop occurring in your life, right? And Kula's kind of in a transitional period right now where it's kind of fizzing out and coming to the end, right? And that's very, very common when you're going through really awakening to your own truth. Kind of everything that was in your life that didn't work for you kind of has to like fall apart, if you will, so you can start actually really living a life that works for you, right? A life that's in alignment with who you are and what works for you. Because
you rise from the ashes, right?
Absolutely, you do. And and the thing is that's because we live a life that we had decided before that worked for us that really actually didn't. And when you start doing consciousness work and you start to realize that there's a lot of places in your life that doesn't work, and if I can say, Kula, when we first started working together, Kula had lots of pain in her body. She had a hard time even standing up straight because she had a lot of lower back stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was dragging my leg behind me.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, you were. And we didn't basically, as you let go of the stuff that didn't work for you anymore, your body healed, didn't it?
It did. It was unbelievable. It's unbelievable how I felt back then, and how I feel now. It's really been life changing. It's the greatest feeling ever. And while I would tell you, I still have, some ways to go on everything. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's super easy, but I would say it's absolutely worth it. But yeah, I was in an incredible amount of pain, and it was my life. It really was. And when you start making changes, and a lot of it's making changes to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. 100%.
Holding on. Yeah. Just like you're talking about, from hurtful things from the past, you start letting a lot of that go, and you start healing. It's like your mind, body, soul, and they are really all wrapped up as one. And when you start having that freedom and having ease in your life, my gosh, you turn around and you look at yourself and you say, and you don't look at it like that, and I guess as we're sitting here and we're talking, I forgot all about that. I forgot about when I was trying to do everything to get, doctors and yoga. And as we've gone on this journey, I'm probably in the best health that I've been in. I'm going to be 50 years old. Best health I've been in. And I don't even know how long, maybe since I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. It really is.
Yeah. Because you were dragging everything in your life that didn't work for you, and that's common, especially as a mom. I feel like I can totally identify that with as a mom, because we just stuff all that down, right? We don't have time to look at our own stuff. We have to take care of everyone else. Yeah.
Right. You're running kids here. You're running kids there. Or you're trying to get a meal on the table, and we've had many conversations about, when you start getting yourself in alignment, when you start choosing ease, when you start working with, like I said, we talk about consciousness tools, and you really, not only does it help you, but it helps your family.
Oh my
It
gosh,
helps your
yes.
children. I mean, because you and I can both attest, our children have completely changed as well,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
When we started changing how we started dealing with them, they started changing as well, and it's really tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. I can't say enough great things. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Thank you. It's been
You're
fun.
welcome.
And
It has been.
I seen a woman like hitting her child at the grocery store yesterday. I totally wanted to walk over and give her a business card. Here, please stop hitting your kid. I didn't, but I wanted to, and I thought, like, what's it going to take for that to change, right? Holding space for something different. So
You said that. It's kind of funny, just a sidebar here, because it made me think of something. I was at the grocery store, just saw the same thing. Lady had 3 kids, and I'm all by myself, and she's so frustrated, and the kids are screaming, she's screaming, and I had walked up to her, and I had said, you know what? One day they're going to be gone, and I just tried to give her some, hey, we've all been there, and in the meantime, I'm like trying to consciously like receive her.
right, pulling from her kids. Come on, kids, just let it go. Let the irritation go. Give mom a break, right?
Right. Oh, bless her heart. Oh,
yeah.
So you're not the only one. Oh, it's awesome. Yeah.
No.
Sorry, I didn't mean to break.
No, that's okay. But it's like when you start to realize how easy life can be, and then you see someone struggling,
Absolutely.
and it's like, gosh, it doesn't really have to be that way.
To be like this. No,
it really
doesn't.
Life can really truly be ease,
And it starts with you.
absolutely, positively, and you can start making different choices, and you can start really changing your life, and you can have the ease, and you don't have to beat your kids at Walmart. You really don't.
I don't mean to laugh.
No, I feel the same way, but I just was like, oh my gosh, like I totally just wanted to I did pull and receive and try to change some of the energy, but I'm like, I could just feel how contracted and how much upset was going on there. And,
Right.
I just want the world to know that, like, you just don't have to live like that. None of us have to live like that.
No, you don't. There's something so much better out there for you.
Absolutely. And when you find it, and when you start living in alignment of your life, like your pain goes away, like you find this joy inside of you, and you really do have ease in every situation, even in terrible situations that you don't want to be in, and you find yourself in the midst of them, you can still choose the ease in it. So thank you so much for sharing your story today with me, Kula. I
you're welcome.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I want to say, I do have my Patreon up. If you go to Patreon and search Jamie Bates, I do have tons and tons and tons of audios on there. I have an audio about, especially about agreements and commitments. And when you start clearing the commitments and the agreements with those around you, and everywhere you agreed to, uphold all of these different energies for other people, things start really changing. And you can join my Patreon right now for either $9.99 a month or $19.99 a month, and get access to so many different audios to really help you shift and change now, that really have some deep clearings in them. So thank you, Kula, for joining me today, and thank you to each and every one of you for listening to me today.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kula. Yes, and thank you all, and I will talk to you next week. And if you'd like to visit me online, www.jamie.bates.com. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.
You have been listening to Expand Your Reality with your host, Jamie Bates. Thank you for listening.